Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Golden McKinnon, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Hello, Nathan.
To Flat Earth
Hello,
Debate Live.
hello.
I'm your host. Hi.
Battle for the
We
parking spot.
missed you.
Mic check.
Yeah, we hear you, Neil.
Mike, checkity check. What's up, guys?
Sky.
What's up, Eli?
What's up? We were just talking about earlier the false dichotomy that we've kind of been. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if there are more appropriate words. But basically, I came out here because I saw an inconsistency with what I was told my reality was.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, 10th Man, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I just want to add on to what Eli was saying. We're met by the opposition to such a degree that I now in my life I don't even bring up the topic at all anywhere unless somebody else starts it, because the aggressions that is brought with even saying the term like flat Earth it's like it triggers them so hard, and people will literally fight you with their fists over their dichotomy. And nowadays, like I don't even want to bring it up to people that I'm around because of that.
Huh. Doesn't that sound like a bit extreme on your part?
What do you mean extreme?
Well, number one, instead of bringing it up as the word you use, give me an incident of how you bring it up and what was the response so I could adequately answer what I mean.
Or just keep your mouth shut. What's your problem?
No. So, just like general, say I'm outside at a fire and we're looking up at the stars, and, somebody points out something, a light moving in the sky, and go, oh, that's the ISS. I'm like, well, do you really know if it's the ISS? And then it kind of just spirals out of there. Well, what do you mean that's not the ISS? The only thing with a light in the sky that's floating is the ISS. And it's like, well, did you ever actually see it? And it gets into technical terms, and then they get really aggravated that you're telling them that they're wrong because they were told that that's what it is.
Okay. Is that the only one, or was it just limited to the ISS?
No, I mean, it's more along the lines of, flat Earth and the horizon and beings that you can see at great distances that should be impossible on a globe. That kind of just sets them off right there,
All right. Well, you gave me enough. Do you ask a question or do you tell them?
I usually ask a question because I want to know what information they have and what their possible sources are. Did they learn it from school? Are they on the NASA website? Where are they learning this from? And then I got to kind of base my answer and my questions off of their information to help to kind of push the subject along, to get them to find the answers themselves without me just forcing my answers onto them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you do that properly, then it shouldn't get into an argument, and you leave it where it's got to be left, and you move on and go and eat the hamburgers from the barbecue.
Well, I wish it was that easy, but
Nah.
even here on Discord and Nathan's
Who's in
show,
charge?
even
Who's in
even
charge
when
of you?
Nathan leads somebody to their own answers, they still get aggravated and upset and dismantled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
but
don't do that.
that's a different.
You know what?
So don't do that. I went to a friend's house that I hadn't seen for a while yesterday, and as I strolled through the front door, the dog started barking, which is unusual. The dog knows me. But nevertheless, the owner of the dog said to the dog, "It's all right, calm down, it's round." That's what he said. Now, obviously, the intonation is, "I want to enter into a discussion about this with you." And I just smiled. Yeah, very funny. And that was the end of that conversation. In other words, just by the way that the guy phrased it to me, I knew he was being half joking, half antagonistic. Well, if you instantly get that vibe from somebody, why even enter into the discussion with it? Me, I've got a show about it. So that's different.
Because I love the truth, and I want everybody to know the truth, whether they want to believe it or not. I'd like to point them in that direction, but like I said, I don't even bring this subject up anymore because of the dog barking. I don't want the dog to bark. I don't want to hear it, so I just leave it alone.
Do you remember the Matrix scene with the woman in the red dress? Do you remember that?
Not 100%. I haven't watched the movie in a long time.
That's all right. There's a scene where Neo is being walked through what he thinks is the Matrix, and he's explaining that people who are in the Matrix are so hopelessly immersed in the Matrix that they will fight to protect it. They don't want to be unplugged. They want to be a cuck to the system. And he asks if he's paying attention, and he says, "What?" Because he's looked at a good-looking woman in a red dress. And then the woman in the red dress turns into an agent. And the real lesson is that anybody in the matrix could be, at any moment, an agent. Yeah, they can just turn into one. Now, that's a metaphor that gets lost over people's heads when they start calling each other shills. It's like, just because someone cucks for the mainstream that they're fighting to defend doesn't mean that they're being paid by the system. It means they're integral to the system and they want to fight to protect what is their system because they are part of it. So it doesn't mean they're a shill. It just means that anybody who's immersed in the... I can't say that word. Immersed in the system will fight to protect it as opposed to realise the beautiful truth that you have to offer. They don't want it. Most of the time.
Would anyone
and I
care?
completely agree
Would
with
anyone?
that.
Oh gosh.
Go on, 10th.
Yeah. Would anyone care for me to finish my point, which I never got to finish?
Yeah, you've got a very different attitude. Yours is much more proactive and constructive than mine, which is very pessimistic and negative. So go ahead, 10th. Put the other side to it.
Yeah. Well, I was in the middle of a discussion with this gentleman, and then everything went haywire. So I had to shut up until everything got quiet here. Once you're in sales and you have to make a sale which is commission based, or you don't eat, you learn the art of communication. I have had so many hostile clients become my clients because I have to fight through the pre-programming of, you're only here to sell me something. I'm not going to spend any money tonight. You can waste your time at the kitchen table doing your presentation, and I don't care what my wife, even if she takes your side, I'm not buying it. And 40 minutes later, he's signing a contract. Now, do you think I'm able to express all of what happened here in that story so many times in 2 seconds, and then also constantly being interrupted? No, it's impossible. We are in charge of our mouth. We are in charge of good qualifying questions. You can stop your mouth after they answer a qualifying question, and it'll never get out of hand. In fact, they will go away saying, I wanted to argue, but there's nothing to latch on. And that's the skill of communication. But we'll save that for another time then.
All right, thank you for that.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chocolate. John, did you have something to add?
Well, yeah, I was also going to say we're not asking a question anymore. We're stating a fact. Eratosthenes proved the Earth was flat before he asserted it was a globe. You know, like things like that. It's not up for argument.
Yeah, Al-Biruni proved Earth is flat before he asserted he could measure an R value. That's a statement of fact. If you believe Al-Biruni even existed, that's not really the point. It's part of the narrative of the heliocentric model. Aristotle's is no different. He's proving and measuring Earth as flat before he even asserts it's a sphere.
Yeah, so we don't have to ask questions anymore. We can make statements of fact.
No, you're absolutely right. But we're not asking questions about statements of facts. We're asking questions if we have a possible hearer or someone who doesn't want to talk about the subject. So why waste those facts on someone who's closed-minded?
Or what's in it for you should be maybe the question you ask yourself. So there's a certain percentage of people that might be receptive, let's just say, to the information that you want to offer to them because you want to offer something that you see as good, right? You see it as positive, therefore you want to offer it up as positive to somebody else. Am I right?
Who are you talking to?
Sure. Yep.
Talking to Chaos. Who's decided to go for a snack. Fair enough. I assume he's offering it up and saying, I want to be able to put myself in this position and not have them react badly because I want to pass something good to them. But even in best case scenario, most of the time, if you've convinced them that they've been lied to for the sake of argument about a globe, you might at best get them asking you a load of questions about the new worldview that they might need to develop. Well, what is the sky then? Well, I don't know. Well, that's very useless. I need a new guru. So, what's in it for you when you're putting this to somebody? I'm never going to find the answer, it seems. Maybe I'll move on to the housekeeping as we haven't done them.
Well, if he asks me, I could tell you.
I'm not
if you're
really
asking him,
Hold
I
on,
gotta
hold
wait
on.
till he answers.
Hold on, he is answering. Go ahead, Chaos. What did you say?
I said I'm not really looking for anything out of it. It's if if they have questions, I don't mind answering questions. And then you're right. It is met with, oh, what's the sky? Why is the sky blue? Why is this? Why is that? Because you're right. They are looking for a new guru. And I don't have all those answers, but it's, for me, I'm not looking to get anything out of it.
Then why would you enter a discussion for it?
Hold on. My question was, what's in it for you? And you're saying nothing.
Just to get the truth out. That's all. If anything, I speak the truth, and the truth will set me free. So that if anything, if I were to be in it for anything, it would just to say the truth out loud, and whoever wants to hear it and be there to listen, hey, by all means, you can come and join in. But other than that,
You said
that's
the
all
truth.
I'm there for. I don't.
You said the truth will set you free, and you're just offering the
Yes.
truth. Therefore, by what you've just said, you feel that by offering this truth out to whoever, you will be provided freedom. Am I wrong?
No, not exactly.
That's what you said. You said the truth will set you free, and I'm just offering the truth.
All right, let me elaborate on that. So, being's the truth. Everybody wants to know the truth about, just about anything, really. And it's a load off my back, knowing that I'm not being lied to, know that I'm not a liar because it's morally right. Not that it's going to spiritually set me free, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but just knowing that I'm not lying to people and knowing that when people want to come to me for answers or questions, they can feel safe to come to me, knowing that I tell the truth as best as I can. That's what I mean by it setting me free of all moral, me being morally correct, if I may.
So it is self-serving to a certain extent. It gives you a moral, an affirmation of your own moral compass when you do it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Selfish bastard.
He cares for humanity.
It's just me, or is G Plus a bit loud today, or is it just John and Neil? No, I get it.
Try to speak a little lower.
It's an interesting point of view because most people have the same issue. But when I ask them the question as I've asked you, it's like, well, what is it you're trying to actually achieve? And if the person you said at the beginning, something I don't necessarily agree with, that people want the truth. People think they want the truth. Yeah? But in reality, they don't. They'd rather have a convenient lie than the devastating truth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nathan.
Because it's easier to just live that way.
Super loud in G Plus today. Super loud.
Nathan, let me ask you a question. Didn't we go over this the other day as pertaining to the law? And you even said then people don't want the truth. They want to stay in the system.
Well, this
They like that
conversation
little
has
comfort bubble. That's what they like. They like to live in that little hideaway comfort bubble. They don't want to know the truth and the bad, the good and the bad of the whole system, the whole beast of the system. The beast is ugly. The truth is ugly, but it's the truth.
Most people don't want adversity.
you don't ever have to deal with that if you allow me to explain. If you want to argue, then don't ask good questions, and you'll get all these people who don't want to change, who want to live in a bubble, who have been conditioned, and they'll mock you, and they'll say tinfoil hat, conspiracy, and all the indoctrination. Now that's on, the first page, if not the first 20 pages of YouTube, with not even a good flat Earth YouTube channel representation. Or you could say, do you want to know what the nature of Earth is before they hijacked it? Because I used to be where you were. When you do, let me know. And it's over.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, and then when you ask that question, if they answered it cognitively, meaning they thought about it before they answered it, yeah, I do want to know why you used to be a baller and now you say this, because this sounds crazy to me. I say, great. You really mean that? Because I'll take the time, because I had to do a lot of study to find out how they lied to us, and I could show it to you if you're interested. Are you interested? A second closing question. So he said yes. Now he says yes twice. Now you got him. So now you start, and he interrupts. Hang on. You told me twice you were interested in hearing my explanation. You can't interrupt while I'm doing it. Take control and talk to the right people. Don't waste your time with the people who are going to mock you. I don't. I leave them standing like, what happened there? The guy just left me. I thought I had him. No, you don't have me. I have you. I control my mouth.
There's another way
You know
to
what I
handle this
speculate?
too.
I heard John first.
Fair enough.
Well, I was just going to say I did it yesterday, and it had fabulous results. I just said as a statement of fact. I asked it in the form of a question. I said, "Did you know?" And I said what I said earlier about Eratosthenes measuring a flat plane before he asserted it was a sphere, and I left it at that. And before, like, I didn't touch the conversation, and it led into flat Earth and people on their phones looking it up. It was in a group too. That's all I said. It was just that simple fact, and then I let it go.
Nice.
Well done, John.
See, that I can
Know
get
about
behind.
that.
Yeah, that I can get behind.
So I speculate that we just live in the result of what peoples have wanted to do. And if that's true, then even though people are living in the deception, they were born into the deception, it's a result of maybe potentially what they would have wanted in the first place, which is why they don't fight against it when they find out. Because their forefathers have wanted the same thing, and the people before them wanted the same thing. And I think that's why we have this, they've built this wonderland together, we together. And it's like the idea that it's flat is out there. It's been out there for as far as we know, decades. As far as we can actually validate, decades, not just the last 5 years. A truth like that to people like us are like, whoa, oh wow. To everybody else, it's like, what does it matter if it is true? If it is, I'm not saying it is. What is it? They don't want it.
So,
I hear
some
you.
do.
Tell you what,
Go on.
tell you what I'm noticing on a personal level is some of my friends and their family now, since I can almost feel the apprehension when I'm out with them, like they're scared to bring it up now with me on the whereas previously they might have done a little bit of banter with me, a little bit of mild mocking, and since they've heard some of my talk, which has come from your show, Nathan, on the elevation angles and the photography, I can sense it now when I'm out. I don't bring it up now, and I can sense that I think they want to bring it up, but they're scared to because they don't know what to expect from me now, what I'm going to give them. And I find that quite pleasing, really.
Fair enough.
I would say I agree with that. It's, for some reason.
I also agree with that. Yeah.
Well,
What? They're scared of the truth, right?
there's a part of them that realizes that, you know, the elevation angle, like, yeah, an angle requires two straight lines. And, you know, so you pretty much implanted a mimetic disease in their mind. It is flat Earth at that point.
You entered a virus into their system. Ha ha ha!
Yeah, Varus got banned yesterday, in case anybody was unaware.
What a day. What a happy day.
Why did he get banned? Lying?
Not well, yeah, worse than lying. So he claimed I was lying. Said that I was lying when I said Earth claimed to have 15 degrees an hour of Coriolis drift. So he postulated that that was me being a liar, or just wrong. So he offered a false dichotomy that had only options including you're wrong or a liar.
Heretic.
So obviously I defended that position, and his response, while I took apart the claim made by people like Neil deGrasse Tyson that Earth turns underneath to cause a Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour, or the fact that globe earthers thank Bob for proving 15 degrees an hour drift, the claim by the globe is definitely 15 degrees an hour drift, debunked by the fact that Earth does not turn underneath helicopters, drones, bullets, footballs. Because if it did, we'd notice. You'd have shortened flight times and continents coming to hot air balloons as Earth turned beneath them, as that's the only way to observe Coriolis effect at 15 degrees an hour. Who's that mumbling through me?
I was just saying blah, 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 blah.
Right, that's what he did. So as I took it apart, he went blah, 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 chanted and mumbled the entire way through me. So I watched his little light flashing the entire time my gate's open and his gate's closed. And then every time I close my mouth, he's talking as I'm shutting up, making me fully aware, as his light's been flashing, that he's been talking the entire time I have, so he doesn't have to listen to it and no one in Discord can hear him. I'm like, okay, get lost. If you're just going to go blah, 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 so you don't have to hear the response when I'm defending him claiming I'm a liar, then he's not welcome here. Especially when in reality, he's lying about what the globe actually claims. The globe certainly claims that there's 15 degrees an hour called Coriolis effect. We can debunk it, because that would mean Earth's turning underneath stuff not attached. Claiming that I lie when I say that is outrageous. To then rumpus the living crap out of me while I defend a claim that I'm lying is also outrageous, and it's not welcome. So you can get lost.
It's called projection. He's the liar, but he's projecting that you're lying, when all you're doing is saying what the globe claims.
Well, he took a step from ignorance into malice by calling you a liar and saying the blah, blah, blah when you try to clarify your point. That seems malicious.
Yeah, malicious, and at the point that he's denying the actual claim made by the globe of 15 degrees an hour Coriolis deflection. That is their claim. At the point that he says, you're a liar if you say the globe claims 15 degrees an hour of Coriolis effect. It's like, at that point, you're no longer willing to fight the globe's claim and tell me if I put the globe's claim in its entirety to an audience, I'm a liar for doing so. That's an outrage.
Listen, you gave
not
him
to mention that
a large space. It was well deserved. Long time coming.
you could also be correct, or you could be misinterpreting. So that's at least 4 options.
Well, that was neither. I'm absolutely correct in my assertion about what the globe claims when they say the globe has Coriolis deflection at 15 degrees an hour. That's the rate of deflection they claim as a result of Earth turning beneath. That is their claim. I'm not lying when I say it, and if he claims I'm lying, he's obviously not willing to defend the globe's claim, or even accept the globe's claim. Why? Well, because we can debunk it. Well, that's neither here nor there. I'm not interested in fighting with people who say I lie when I literally just put the globe claim as it is.
Yeah.
Don't they have proofsies? Don't they have the pendulum and stuff that they used to throw at us?
Well, they claim the pendulum is a deflection at 15 degrees an hour, Coriolis effect as Earth turns beneath. Of course, I'm called a liar when I say that. I'm not. That's what globe claims. 15 degrees an hour drift in the gyro or pendulum as a result of Earth turning beneath. It's called Coriolis effect.
We're back to realizing the proper question that he heard many times, and of course he wasn't here to learn or be honest, so that's why he got kicked off. But what was the proper question that he learned many times? What is the cause of Coriolis? Now, if it's not Earth's rotation, can there be the subject to even talk about?
No, the only cause of Coriolis is a non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath an inertial reference frame. The cause is you turning beneath. The effect is a not actual deflection. the rate the globe is claimed to have of said not natural deflection is 15 degrees an hour. So it's claimed Earth is that non-inertial turning reference frame, turning beneath the inertial reference frame to observe stars drifting at 15 degrees an hour, or footballs drifting at 15 degrees an hour, or bullets drifting at 15 degrees an hour. That's what they claim.
Right. So when he came and said, you don't understand Coriolis, Nathan, he made up his own because he doesn't have an answer to that. So he's got to make something like Johnny on the spot. And it doesn't make any sense because to have any kind of Coriolis, the Earth has to be turning. And that's all you were referencing. He's a heretic. He's denying the globe model.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. At the point that he's
I think-
denying the premise of
feel
the
like-
claim, then he's a heretic. He's not claiming what the globe claims. The globe claims Coriolis effect. And as I said at the time, there's not a single person watching or listening that doesn't appreciate that the globe does claim Coriolis effect. Everybody realises it. When you say Coriolis effect, people assume it's synonymous with the globe. It isn't. It's an effect you observe as you turn beneath. So to have it on a globe, you must turn beneath aeroplanes. Yeah, that would shorten their flight times. As a consequence,
that's
they
the
want to
killer.
deny it.
I feel like there's an aspect of this argument that they want to keep separated, even though obviously they're in the same path, right? So there's the Coriolis effect, and then there's the 15-degree per hour rotation of, celestials in the sky, right? Because I was remembering a while ago we were arguing about Coriolis, and I think it was like Ed Freeze or somebody, one of these clowns, and Nathan brought up sunsets. And what Ed Freeze said, or whoever that was, said it was irrelevant to the Coriolis effect, right? So they'll call this apparent deviation that we don't ever see Coriolis effect, but the effect of things actually moving in the sky, they don't want to call that Coriolis effect, right? So they don't want to relate the 15-degree per hour rotation to this apparent deviation. It's like they want to keep them separate, right?
Yeah, it's irrelevant.
I don't care what
Yeah,
they
it's
want to do.
irrelevant, right? Like you used to say all the time, right? But how is that irrelevant if it's the same cause? Because the reason the sunset in your narrative, the reason the sun's moving is because the ground's moving. We're on a non-inertial spinning reference frame. That's the cause of the sunset. So that would be the same cause of this rotation or this apparent deviation that we see of things that we don't actually see. But for some reason, they want to keep that separate.
It's not just the same cause, it's the same thing. The sun moving is as a result of Earth turning beneath, is Coriolis deflection. So the sun isn't actually moving according to their claim, but Earth and the ground you are standing on moves underneath the sun to make its path an apparent curved path. It's not actually taking a curved path. It merely, according to them, looks that way because it's claimed Earth turns underneath. Helicopters and aeroplanes and drones, and we'd notice that.
Yeah, and that's my point. And we noticed that, right? But the ones that we can point to in the sky, the things in the sky all move according to them because we're on this spinning Earth. But they don't call any of that stuff Coriolis. The only thing they call Coriolis are things that they can't actually show.
Yeah, because when you tie
I don't know,
Coriolis,
it's weird.
when you tie Coriolis deflection to what it actually is, sunrises, sunsets, star movement, the drifting of bullets, the drifting of footballs, all of these things that they're claiming are Coriolis effect, don't have an overt statement that Earth turns beneath. Whereas if you describe how the stars are supposed to be appearing to curve from your vantage point, they're very explicit about Earth turning beneath the stars. So you've got a disconnect because one, with Earth turning beneath to cause deflection in a bullet, means Earth's turning beneath aeroplanes that we don't observe, and Earth's turning beneath hot air balloons that we don't observe. So probably best not to mention that the effect directly relies upon Earth turning beneath stuff that's left the ground. Because then you'd look at an aeroplane and go, hang on a second, that means Earth turning underneath that aeroplane, and it isn't. So best not to mention it and link it directly, because people would get wise to it. That's why someone like Virus needs to come along when I overtly state that Coriolis deflection is Earth turning beneath stuff. That he has to tell me I'm lying about it, because he doesn't want generally to comprehend or have others comprehend that the effect they claim is Earth turning beneath at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. Ergo, you launch a drone just by pushing the up stick on your remote, and it whizzes away from your position at 1,000 miles an hour. Now, from the drone's perspective, it's just going up. Obviously, drones don't fly at 1,000 miles an hour, but if the claim of Coriolis effect on a turning Earth is true, then the drone lifts off the ground and Earth turns under the drone at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. That's what the effect is. Earth turning beneath. Obviously, it doesn't happen, so they don't want that to be explicitly stated in certain circumstances.
No, I don't think it's a coincidence that the place where that would be the most observable, which is at the equator, that's the place where they say it's zero. Like, are you guys serious? That's ridiculous.
What is the equator anyway?
Could I say something? Well, yeah, I'll touch on much. Actually, what Neil
hold
just
on,
said.
just 1 second, Brian. Neil asked what the equator is. It's an arbitrary position derived from the movement of the sun over a period and then averaged.
Yeah, the point I was going to make is that if they're claiming Coriolis effect is the reason why the sun rises and sets and moves around us or above us, and the same with the stars and whatever. Now, the moon, they don't really claim it for because the moon moves in the same direction as their globe. But for the sun and the stars, yeah, they claim Coriolis effect. And that's the reason why we see happening what happens. But then they make a completely different claim and call that Coriolis effect, something that has nothing to do with the Coriolis effect. It's made up what we call globiolis. And how could you have the zero Coriolis effect at the equator when that is the path of the sun, the very thing that's supposed to prove like out rotation, right? Sunsets and sunrises. You know, how could you have zero at the equator? Well, does the sun not move at the equator? Is the sun always stationary in a position at the equator? You see the problem you have. They're claiming two completely different things out of the Coriolis effect.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but I had someone over a barrel with exactly that when they claimed it. Oh, there's no Coriolis, zero Coriolis. I think it was extremesis. Zero Coriolis at the equator, according to my citation. Oh, so the stars have stopped then? Earth's not turning beneath the stars on the equator to observe 15 degrees an hour drift as you move at a rim velocity of 1,000 miles an hour beneath the stars to see them seem to move. That's not happening anymore then. Zero drift at the equator. Nah, bollocks. Globe claims 15 degrees an hour of it everywhere. Because that's why the stars move, isn't it? So when we don't see 1,000 miles an hour differential between aeroplanes, drones, helicopters, hot air balloons, or anything else that leaves the ground, if you're jumping up and down on the equator, and you don't see Earth turn beneath it, they have to immediately assert something that is completely contrasting the actual globe claim of Earth turning beneath at 15 degrees an hour to cause deflection in items not attached, not limited to, but including the sun and the stars. Well, if that deflection isn't apparent, i.e. we don't see it, not proving we spin, they just deny that we're supposed to see it, zero at the equator. Yeah, that would mean your stars had stopped. Yeah, that would mean your sun doesn't rise and fall anymore around your globe because it's turning beneath them, according to your claim that it is. But why would you say it isn't? What, because flight times aren't shortened when travelling west? Because drones don't whiz away 1,000 miles an hour when they leave the ground on the equator? Because hot air balloons don't just travel up and wait for continents to come to them? Is that why you're telling me there's no Coriolis on the equator? Because according to your globe, there is. It's just we can show how there isn't. When you say on a globe there is. There isn't.
That's a fact, and he's another heretic extremistus.
Yeah, denying the claim of 15 degrees an hour. I mean, what is it with you guys? One minute you want to thank Bob for proving it, the next minute you want to tell us that there's zero of it on the equator, and tell me I'm a liar if I say there is 15 degrees an hour of Coriolis according to the globe claim. I'm a liar for saying it. Which is it? Thanks Bob or Nathan's a liar for 15 degrees an hour claims? Which one is it, lads? You seem in cognitive pain there, fundies on the globe side. You don't seem to understand what Coriolis is and how we debunk it. It's Earth turning beneath at a rate causing a drift in things you see not attached to the Earth. Well, if you're seeing drift of an aeroplane not attached to the Earth, it's having its flight time shortened because Earth's turning beneath it, and that doesn't happen. Go ahead, Paul. Was it Paul or John?
I think it's really nice of you.
You're obviously not John or Paul, Neil.
I was saying same difference. Just kidding, John.
Well, I think it's nice of Nathan because he lets them beg the question, that it's a sphere with an axis. I think that's nice of him.
It is nice. Why shouldn't I allow them that generosity, John? Wow, 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 because basically... because
I'm fine with kids, sorry.
That's okay. Do you want me to fill in
That's the whole thing. It's because the plane, right? If there was no flight times being changed, then they would be okay with it.
Because the assertion of a radius, the assertion of having a radius and an axis to have a radial value to give you a spin rate, i.e. the 15 degrees an hour I've mentioned on multiple occasions that the globe claim has, then you'd need to violate the celestial sphere model that utilises elevation angles off a flat plane. Further to that, their R value is derived by using flat Earth measurements. So it's a contradiction in terms to even say you've got an axis with an R value. You haven't. It violates the celestial sphere model.
Oh, dear.
I was going to say, with the case of extremists, right?
Chocolate first. Hold on one deck. Hold on one deck. Go ahead, Chocolate.
No, it's all good. I was going to say, with that case of extremists, right? Maybe he's not trying to be a heretic, right? Because he's trying to present both sides of that same argument, right? He'll say there's Coriolis effect, so he does believe there's Coriolis effect, but then his narrative also tells him at the equator there's no Coriolis effect, which he tries to present that with citation. The only problem is that he can't make, or the Globers can't make the correlation of, if you've got no Coriolis effect, but the cause is still happening at the equator, then that should still be happening. But maybe it's just painful because their side is saying both things at the same time, out of both sides of the mouth.
Go ahead, one deck.
I was just saying, Nathan, I think I agree that with getting rid of that virus and getting rid of all these knuckleheads, anti-flat earthers who just talk in riddles. We're wasting our time with them. We need to get this message out to the normies and people like that because they're just draining us, them idiots. Absolutely draining us and trying to stop us in our tracks, and we just need to fuck them off and get rid of them.
You just reminded me of something that Validation Boy showed in a bit of NASA exposery, and he's got a video of somebody allegedly launching a satellite from one of the shuttles, and there's a guy in the background. It's obviously a half, or maybe even a third scale model, about the size of a man. And you see the guy in the background, right, through the black haze. And cover kids' ears if you have kids listening. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to swear to repeat what Validation Boy said when he popped up in the background. He went, "Look at this fuck knuckle." in the shot. It's just so... I've never heard it before. It's a term I'm not familiar with. But when he said knuckleheads, it just reminded me of Validation Boy debunking the hoaxery that is NASA by showing somebody in the background dressed in black and a half-scale model of the shuttle in a sky vacuum with wires pulling this satellite out of it. It was just terrible. Red Dwarf standard, man. It was proper 90s Red Dwarf scale models, high-speed photography. Just garbage, man. By today's standards, embarrassingly bad footage of space. The stuff shouldn't age. We said this yesterday, right? Space footage should look only aged by the quality of the capture footage, the lenses and the tape going through the camera. and the quality of the camera itself should be the only thing that shows the age of the footage. Nothing else about it should age in any way, because it's timeless. If you're actually travelling to a genuine rock in the sky vacuum, which can't possibly be the case, but that aside, if you were, it would be the same now as it was then. The only difference is you'd capture it in 8K resolution with a much more sophisticated lens and a much more sophisticated capture method, digital. That would be it. But what you actually captured would be directly comparable in all aspects. Doesn't matter if it's a spacewalk, it doesn't matter if it's a moonwalk, it doesn't matter if it's the journey. They should all be the same, save for the quality of the equipment used to capture it. That should be the only thing that differs. What we actually see is the quality of what comes from space ramps up at about the same quality as Hollywood faking space does. So the production quality of NASA moon landings is stop motion animation. Same with the Russians. It's just so obviously off the standard of production of the time and directly correlates with whatever you can contrast it with 2 years earlier in Hollywood, but just played a little bit closer to NASA's chest. You're not going to have any space wars going on. Obviously, it's just them eating a meal or playing golf. But other than them playing their hands close to the chest, that's what correlates. The quality of production as opposed to just the quality of capture. So is a better way of contrasting it. If you go and look at a modern, bang up to date nature documentary and compare it to something from the 60s, other than the quality of the camera work and the narration, what you see when they film a tiger and how a tiger looks and how a tiger behaves and what a tiger does and the tiger's environment will be identical today as it was in the 60s. It won't change save for the camera quality or the audio quality or the narration or the tone of voice or maybe some of the intonations of the guy or the vernacular that he uses in the time period. But those things aside, they'll be the same. It won't be that, wow, isn't that tiger's movement so much more fluid today? It was all jerky back in the 60s. The tiger didn't move as smoothly back then. And it don't work like that. But it does with NASA.
I think that's why they don't really try very hard to reenact a lot of that shit. Like, that's why we don't have a 2022 version of the moon landing, because of that right there, that stipulation of, well, if we make it look too real, then it won't match up with what we've already showed. But then we can't show what we used to show because it's 2022. We can't go back and use that technology and blame it on the technology. So we just pretend like we're not doing anything.
So no, you've quoted the guy who literally blames it on the technology. It's the technology's fault. We destroyed that stuff in the 60s and we can't get it back. So, I mean, it's basically the technology's fault.
I remember photographs from back in 2015 of NASA in the 80s where they had people in T-shirts with NASA on them or whatever and motorcycle helmets with a wire coming from the motorcycle helmet that's supposed to maybe be an air wire or something, and they were supposedly in a spaceship or a rocket or whatever going out into space. It was like from sci-fi. See, it matched what sci-fi was showing people, like on Battlestar Galactica and things like that, back in the 80s. They just match whatever young people, kids, whatever young sci-fi people are seeing at that time.
Because that's what it is. That's what NASA is. It's Santa Claus for adults.
Yep.
Neil, you're so loud. Third time I've told you, Neil, back off your mic. Neil, you're just blasting out my audience's eardrums every time you talk.
Sorry.
Somebody asked me a question, and they asked me to make a distinction between NASA and Hollywood. And thinking about it, I couldn't define a line that separates them and what they do.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Hollywood actually takes up the mantle of being actors. NASA pretends they're real.
Chili Peppers would know.
As with the guy who played Kirk, what's his name? He was in the news a couple of years ago.
William
with
Shatner.
Shatner. He was asked, what's the difference between science fiction and science fact?
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, William. Yeah, just be
He was
brutally
right.
honest.
Don't
It
mess
is.
with Owen's guy.
It's not my guy.
Why does everyone think William Shatner's Arwen's guy just because he liked Star Trek when he was a kid?
Yeah.
I still do like it, and I just think I'm just happy he's still around, right? He's an old man. I'm just happy he's still around, that's all. But yeah, the way he performed recently, it's just
What, he stood
embarrassing.
by a desk while they had cameras rolling with ticker tape going along the bottom saying men in space. He did his job. What's wrong with you? Okay, he didn't float around on the wires they strapped him to, but he's like 90 years
Yeah.
old or something.
I know.
Right, so, he did an all right job. He stood by the desk and they said he was in space.
Yeah, sure, maybe. I just wish he would have, not be so eugenics about it afterward in the interviews.
How do you sleep at night,
You mean-
William?
You mean
On
like
a
crying and
massive
stuff?
pile of money would be the answer.
Yeah. How do you sleep on a massive pile of money?
We've totally foregone the housekeeping questions because the guy in Discord, whoever it was, Chaos, decided to spin off from the pre-show, which was about a minute and a half long. Don't know how that happened, but I thought, sod it. There's been no warm-up, so I'll just let them warm themselves up at the beginning of the live show, so hence there's been no housekeeping questions today. That said, it's been almost a solid hour of great conversation.
Are we
I have
going
a
to do
couple
the
of topics.
housekeeping?
Nah,
have a couple
at
of
10-2, no.
I have some topics to talk
We
about.
can do it in 7 minutes. Come on.
You want to do quick-fire housekeeping?
Yeah.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Negative.
Nope.
No.
Only in the math.
Any
Well,
evidence?
I have to stop it.
Hell no.
I must stop it now.
Oh, here we go. See, he's never going to get done. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, because I said I had a couple of topics to talk about, and Arwen and Neil completely ignored that I was saying that. So
I heard you.
stop you.
entire
I'm going
after
to
show.
stop you on that very one, on that very topic.
That's what they're there for. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. Has anyone seen my most recent video? I think you saw it, Nathan.
I went onto it, gave it a thumbs up, and proceeded to not actually watch it. I've got to be honest. I did spend about
That's
the
what I
same
thought.
length as the
Terrible.
video takes to play, not watching it while it played out, responding to almost every commenter.
Yeah.
Brian, I
Well,
tried to watch it, but it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning.
And let's put it this way, Brian. If you talked about it because it did play while I was responding to all of your commenters, because you had as well, about 50% of them. Well, I wanted to retell them all. Earth's flat and it's got to be using elevation angles from a flat plane to do it. Here, there's the definition of an elevation angle 10 times. But I did listen to a degree.
I watched it, Brian, but I thought your delivery was a little bit flat.
I say we drag out whether or not we've watched it so he doesn't get to make the point for at least the next 6 minutes.
Well, the point of it is this. To get your correct latitude using Polaris, you must use the sea horizon. That's the only horizon you can use to get your correct latitude. So, you know the way the latitudes work? Well, you can't get your correct latitude at sea. This is at sea now, At sea, you will not get your correct latitude using a marine sextant without using the sea horizon. Every single globe claim involves you getting your latitude off a geometric horizon. Every single one of them. And that's why I showed, in my video, I showed all the diagrams from their side. Every single one of them claim a geometric horizon. And they all state that you must use the horizon to get your in conjunction with Polaris to get your correct latitude. But the horizon we see is not geometric.
Right.
So you can't get, 1 second, you can't get your correct latitude using a globe's geometric horizon. But the plot thickens. See, as we know, they back engineered all the elevation angles to Polaris into a radii. But the fact that they claim that the horizon we see is refracted, and even celestial navigation push this nonsense these days, the fact that they're claiming that it's refracted absolutely destroys the globe. Because it's that exact horizon their claim is refracted that you get your correct latitude from. But the actual size of the globe requires you to be getting your latitude from a geometric horizon, not that horizon, not the real one. Consequently, destroying the existence of the globe. Because if you're getting your correct latitude off of what they claim to be a refracted horizon, then that means the actual globe is way smaller than it's claimed to be. It doesn't have a 3959 mile radius. It has some way smaller radius. The whole thing is tiny in comparison. Because if all your latitudes are coming from the horizon we see, which they claim is a refracted position, then they're not coming from a geometric position. So consequently, it completely debunks the globe, completely. Because all their official diagrams show it coming from they all show that as the person moves from the North Pole down to the equator, that it's the geometric horizon of the globe that stops them seeing Polaris. When they get to the equator, Polaris is at 0 because of the geometric horizon of the globe, stopping them seeing Polaris. But in reality, they have to claim that the horizon we see is a refracted position, which is total nonsense, but that's what they claim. And that's what you have to use to get your correct latitude. I thought latitudes were based off of a globe's geometric horizon. And those observations that you're getting your latitudes off, they are the very observations that their radius is derived from. How could the radius be derived from a position that's supposed to be refracted?
Yep, we've been saying it for 2 straight years, Brian. They've never got it until now. They're starting to get it because their method relies upon them having a physical geometric tangent point, Earth curve, edge, horizon. And that straight line to a tangent point, aka the thing they battled for about 5 years ago at the Isle of Man, that it had boats falling over it and was blocking the Isle of Man, they're now claiming that hasn't got any existence that we can visibly verify whatsoever. It can't be seen. So, lads, how's that geometric horizon working out for you now that you need it and you haven't got it anymore? Refraction! Oh, really? So when we say you haven't got a geometric horizon, the horizon's not geometric, and you say, oh, yeah, obviously not. Refracted? It's not no Atmo day. Yeah, that's fine as a response until you actually need one, like now.
I'd like
Nathan,
to say
exactly.
I called it, it's my paradox, but it's always good to go over again.
It's not your paradox. You
It was
wrote my
no, I don't. Hold on, Brian. You're so quick to take credit.
Wow,
It was dubbed the Arwinian paradox because it was Arwin that was the first to succinctly summarise the fact that if you refract the geometric horizon, you can no longer derive R from the geometric horizon. In other words, summarising the paradox that is acquisition of geometry if you haven't got a geometric tangent point. He was the first to summarise it, and therefore we gave him the privilege of labelling it after him. So it is actually labelled the Arwinian paradox.
Yeah, but he's a mind thief.
I'm really happy with that.
After he stole that from
Brian,
me.
you understand.
However, I was just about to say,
math a
Arwin.
lot better than I do, so
No.
you understand a lot more why and how the paradox even works. I was the one to call it out first.
Well, you were and you
Okay,
weren't. I
before
think actually it was Brian. Brian got there at least a couple of weeks before you, but you just happened to get credited.
No, I call it out. That's why calling it out. He might have thought it up 2 weeks before. I was the one to speak it out on the live show.
I still
No,
technically
I
give
thought
Brian
about
credit.
it, and I was just about to say it, and you stole my
Yeah.
thought and said it just before I was going to say it. Because you can get
That's
your
right.
thoughts to your words
Yeah.
faster than I can get my thoughts to
I
my
get
words.
it. You're
You
not
know that.
jealous at all, of course.
Anyway, either way, just before the live show finishes, either way, the one thing that they absolutely require the geometric horizon for, because this involves the parallel light rays, everything, the one thing they absolutely require the horizon to be geometric for is the observations to Polaris. But you don't use the geometric horizon to gain your latitude. You use the sea horizon. So there is no glow.
Indeed, you
There's
can't use
nothing.
a geometric horizon. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. But with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the thanks button, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Because sanitation's got to come. You'll see movement all throughout that garbage.
Is that
Black
because
plastic bag.
they got tail lights?
Oh, they're in there. It's sad what happened to New York. It really is.
I have a question for refracted curvature when he's available. And it is sad. Things are that bad in New York again.
Before he answers, I'll just say, Brian, I love that point. And I just love the fact that the Black Swan is still killing them after they're dead. Like, it's so bad how they've reacted to the Black Swan, and their responses have destroyed everything else, like, that they can do at this point. It's done deal. And it's 2
10-man
years.
yeah, but 10th Man called it. He said with the Sextant and the Black Swan, it's over, dead. Can't go nowhere.
Thanks,
I'm more,
Chocolate. Sorry.
I'm more concerned about the rats in New York City getting disease and spreading it to the children. This is ridiculous.
No, it's horrible. Listen, it's horrible here. I don't even like being here.
That ain't nothing new, man. There were rats that used to take the subway with me when I was in New York, man.
Yeah,
What?
but chocolate it's picture that, and it's like 1,000 times magnified.
Yeah, I hear it's worse.
Right. And by the way, I don't think that like diseased rats spread disease more than just regular rats, because it's about the feces, right? That's the thing that becomes the pollutant in the body that makes people sick, gets the typhoid and all
Did
that.
you ever see that? Did you ever see that movie of Unknown Origin? It's a movie from the 80s where this guy goes to war with a rat in his house when his family's on vacation. Oh, forget it. Sick.
Well, it's nice to know when Chocolate was in New York when he took the subway, he didn't Mickey Mouse around with the rats.
Hey, Brian, what was your question? I'm sorry, I was taking care of the little heathens in this house.
Yeah, 1 second, John. I just want to say first, Chocolate, can come back to that point, what you said. Thank you. Yeah, John, the question I have for you is this. It's not really a question. It's something I put into the war room for you. Sorry about the background noise. On a full moon night, could I perform the Eratosthenes demonstration?
To get an elevation angle to the moon?
To get a shadow, to get a shadow with a, if I performed in a big car park or something where there's a full moon, where there's no clouds, if I use the full moon, could I get a shadow length that would match the sun? If I could get the moon in the same position if I did it with the sun, and I knew the moon was going to be in that same position, that same all-gas position, let's say that night, could I get the same shadow length?
You should, but that doesn't mean you will, I guess. You know what I mean? You should, though.
Well, the point I'm getting is, could I get it then with a big light? Could I get that same shadow length with a light? Just a floodlight or something? Could I get the same shadow length as I would with the sun?
At the right angle, yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yes.
But in specific, I'm talking about the moon. And the reason I'm talking about the moon on a full moon night is the reason that those shadows are claimed to happen on a globe is because we are rotating, but the sun has got a huge diameter, and we're getting parallel light rays, right, giving us these different angled shadows. Obviously, if the sun is at the zenith of something, there will be no shadow. But if something then is downwind, down the curve from it, another obelisk, then there will be a shadow. And the further down that curve the obelisk is, the bigger the shadow, right? As we all know with shadows, put a stick in the ground, when the sun is at solar noon, the shadow will be the smallest. When it's heading for the horizon, the shadow will be the biggest, right? That's in their model. In their model, the sun is huge, and that's why in their model they have parallel light rays, right? Now, I know, besides where all that nonsense comes from, it doesn't matter right now. But if the same happens at the moon, then what are they talking about? Because there's no parallel light rays from the moon, because the moon is smaller in diameter than the globe Earth. The moon can't have parallel light rays. It's not a huge star at a big distance. It's a smaller, more local thing.
They'll assert that the light rays coming from the moon, from one side of it to the other, its diameter size, that those rays are parallel.
But they can't. The reason
they will.
They can't. The reason we have parallel light rays in the first place is because of the size of the object, the source that the light is coming from. That's where the parallel light rays claim comes from. It's because of the size. The sun, we have parallel light rays from the sun in their claim because of the size, the diameter of the sun. Gives us parallel light rays because it's so huge. The inverse square law hasn't even that 93 million miles, the inverse square law hasn't even taken place yet because the diameter of the sun is so huge. That's their claim. That's right, why yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, but they claim that the moon is huge too. It's just that its distance is closer. It's not as big as the sun, but it's
but the moon is smaller than the globe. It's only 1/4 the size of the globe.
But
so it can't have parallel light rays.
Well, they're going to assert that they are, that the light rays leaving the left side of the moon and the light rays leaving the right side of the moon are coming in parallel. They will assert that.
Yeah, but they can't. This is the thing. This is the point. Regardless of what they're trying to say, they can't. The whole point of there being parallel light rays is due to the size of the light source in comparison to the globe. Right? It's because it's such a huge light source. Like Polaris has parallel light rays because it's so huge. Even though it's really far away, it's so huge. The light that reaches us is parallel because we were so small. You know, there's super GP, as Chocolate says. No, there's no GP because we have parallel light rays within their model. So there can't be a GP because the whole one side of the globe is lit up by the parallel light rays. With the moon, there is no parallel light rays. There can't be parallel light rays because the reason for the parallel light rays is not there. The moon is smaller than the globe. So there's no
Well,
way you should be able to get the same shadows.
Can I say
let me
something?
try it like this. Let me try it like this. Hold on a second, Tim. Do light rays travel parallel or are they divergent?
Light rays are always divergent.
Right. So they can't say that light rays are parallel, but they do anyway. They will do the same thing when it comes to the moon.
If they want, they can say that, but just before Tank goes, if they want, they can do that, but it won't make any
They're
difference
almost
because
parallel.
the reason
That's what they
they're
like to
almost,
say.
yeah, they're not parallel then. The reason for the claim of parallel light rays in the first place is due to the size they give to the objects, to the sun or Polaris or whatever. The reason they give the parallel light rays, the reason for the parallel light rays claim is due to the size, the diameter size of the light source being so much huger than the diameter size of the globe. But when it comes to the moon's diameter size is only 1/4 or whatever. It's only 2,000 something miles in diameter in their model. So that means that there is no way the moon can have parallel light rays. So it should be absolutely impossible for me to get the same shadow using the moon as using the sun within their model. It should be absolutely impossible.
No. They say it. That means the higher level globe heads say it because of the distance, not because of the size. Most of the people we deal with around here don't even know why they say it. They just say it. It's the distance.
It's not just the distance. It's also the diameter size.
Yeah,
no, it's not just the distance.
It's more or less the distance, not the size.
No,
Think about it.
Not just. I did.
Think about it.
Yeah, the distance is but the distance is based off the size.
No, it's not.
Well, the distance wouldn't mean anything without the size.
Distance doesn't mean anything without the size.
Yes, within their
What
model.
the hell does that even mean?
It means there'd be no point in having the sun 93 million miles away if the sun was the size of the moon. Within that model, there's no point. It would be pointless. The whole parallel light rays.
I don't know.
That's why but that's why they try and say this. That's why they try to say that this is why they try to say that the light rays are almost parallel because they know that the inverse square law will take effect. But the parallel part is due to the fact that it's so big, even though it's at a huge distance, it's so big.
You can reiterate it again and say your claim again. It's wrong.
No, I have to disagree with you there. I'm sorry.
Okay, can I chime in?
Yeah, and then I need to bring up another topic. Go ahead.
Yeah. In the Celestial Navigation book, it's always referencing distant because it's diverging when it's leaving the sun. But by the time it reaches us, the distance, it's almost parallel. Pause. All the lights need to be almost parallel or parallel for them to have a corresponding angle from the equatorial plane, match one with a tangent plane on the surface. So if without parallel light, celestial navigation is rendered useless. The way the globe does it.
We want to move. I want to touch on another thing. Brian, you said that, remember about the refracted horizon, that belly laugher. But anyway, you said now celestial navigators are using that. No, they're not. They use astronomical refraction, even though that refraction is a tear-jerking belly laugher also, because they don't know what refraction is. But to be specific, in the Naval Almanac, that's astronomical refraction, not terrestrial.
No, that's true when they're talking about the star. But their dip correction at present, their dip correction is a correction from a geometric horizon up to the actual sea horizon. That's their current dip correction. It's even in the Davis Sextant Manual and other sources. So
this is getting convoluted. I think this is getting overly convoluted for some strange reason. I can't put my finger on it. I think there's too many stories going around. Dip correction, which isn't dip correction anyway. It's just height of eye correction, right? I don't know. Too convoluted, man.
No, they make it convoluted on purpose. What they do is say if you're standing up above the ocean surface, in order to get it right, you got to do height of eye correction, which is true, and that's all it is. But how they show it in pictures is with a dingleberry underneath that tangent plane. And so what they're insinuating is that the higher you are, the more of the curve of the Earth you see. Well, I'd like to introduce them to Black Swan because that's not happening.
Somebody's cleaning out their closet, Ken.
Sorry, that's my...
I can't hear you.
Let me repeat. What they're doing, the Black Swan destroys. They're saying when you get your height of eye to the ocean, perfect. But if I'm above the ocean, I'm higher, so I see further. So I'm seeing the curve of the Earth falling away from me. That's what they're showing with the dingleberry and that OG. But that's not happening. It's just they're insinuating it. Well, we'd like to introduce them to the Black Swan because if it's happening there in your orthographic drawing, then it should be happening here, and it's not in a real life test. So it's nonsense.
Yeah, but
can anyone show me terrestrial refraction being referenced in celestial navigation in the almanac or any other source? Can somebody show me that?
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question about that?
Not right now, when you get a chance.
No, I got the answer now, but I need you to clarify your question. When you say terrestrial refraction, does that count sea temperature and of the water and air temperature? Or
no.
Is that...
Okay. No.
Well, that's what they refer to. No, that's what they refer to.
Yeah, okay. No. Let me say this. That is not terrestrial refraction. Even though that's a belly laugher, that still isn't the belly laugher.
What I'm trying to tell you is they explain the refraction at the lower degree levels, like from 0 to 15, is because of seawater temperature and air temperature meeting at a point. So I'm trying to tell you what they say.
Okay, I want to see the tables then. They have refraction tables? I want to see that.
Why are we assuming this is a refractive effect, by the way? Anybody?
Yeah, I know. I understand that. That's why I qualified it in the beginning, saying it's all horseshit anyway. But I want to, just specifically, I want to see the terrestrial refraction tables, please. In the Naval Almanac. Not what they say, what's documented.
Yeah, I've posted them before, but it has nothing to do with terrestrial. It's just temperatures.
That rests my case.
Yeah, so do I.
Black Swan rested a lot of cases 2 years ago.
Yep.
Hey, Nathan, are you still there?
Yeah.
Nathan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mitchell gave you a super chat at the end of the live show, but you never shouted him out. Could you still do it?
Shout out to Mitchell from Australia for hitting the super chat.
And read it out?
I don't have it up. I didn't have it off my stuff loaded. I got back at 2 minutes to the hour and then sat down, started the show with minimal stuff running and just booted it up as the live show started. So I didn't actually have a live stream chat running at all for the whole show. I still haven't, so I can't get it back. So can you read it? That would be really helpful.
Well, I don't have it up either. I'll try to find it.
Chocolate and teapot come to mind.
Trying to help out a fellow flat earther.
Is QE there?
Yep.
The point I was making concerning why I stated that about celestial navigation is to do with the video I made 2 days ago, or whatever, about Polaris. Because all their Polaris observations, although it's not directly connected to celestial navigation, in one way, in another way it is. All their Polaris observations, they all claim the geometric horizon, every single one of them. So you get your latitude between a geometric horizon and Polaris. But that is not the truth. The truth is you use the real horizon, the sea horizon, and Polaris to get your latitude. But the globe is built on the observations to Polaris. The radii, the radii, circumference, diameter, all comes from back engineering of observations to Polaris. Flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris. So the fact that they don't use a globe's geometric horizon to get the correct latitude means that is because, number one, it doesn't exist, right? Number two is if they're claiming that horizon is refracted, it means that their globe is tiny and nowhere near the size they claim it is. And number three is that you can't get your correct latitude from the using the geometric horizon of the globe and Polaris. It can't be done. Yet they have claimed for God knows maybe a century, and they have all the diagrams there showing that it's the geometric horizon is the reason why Polaris gets to zero, because it blocks your view to Polaris. That's what their claim is. As you move from the north, go on.
Yeah, well, that was birthed in the nanosecond after the black swan was birthed. You're using my same argument.
No, not exactly. And the reason I say not exactly.
Not exactly.
Right. Yeah, because the point I'm making is this: is that they could say that the horizon we see when we look out at the black swan photograph is refracted, and that is they can say that to themselves and go, "That's okay," but they can't say that's okay when it comes to the horizon we use to get our latitude. They can't say that's okay there because it's blatantly obvious that it's not the geometric horizon of a globe, the very thing it needs to be for their model to exist. It's not about whether or not it's not saying that the black swan is any less correct. The point I'm making is, even though I use the black swan in my video, right? The point I'm making is that particular horizon can't be refracted. They can't make that claim. That particular horizon cannot be refracted.
Yeah, the horizon could never be different.
Wait a second. Are you saying the horizon can't be refracted?
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
It's the same argument.
Jeez.
It is the exact same argument.
No, it's not. It's not. You're missing it. That particular horizon, to get your latitude using Polaris, within their model, it's the one time that they cannot claim refraction.
Right, it's the first time. Hold on. Hello. Yeah, it's the first time I've got to say this to a flat earther, contextually being correct. So, yes, that's right, Brian, but we only have one horizon, and the horizon in their geometric, begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is geometric. It's just not the horizon we see. But that's the black swan argument.
Yeah, but there's a subtle difference. They can claim with any observation, including Isle of Man, which they did, that the horizon was and is refracted, right? They can claim that in that instance and hand wave away the argument. They can't do that. No, they can't do that with Polaris.
Because they can't do it with any horizon because the horizon cannot be diffracted.
Hang on.
None of the horizon can.
Hang on, Aaron. The reason they can't is because you go to Sean Carroll or Brian Cox or anyone else, and if you show them a black swan photograph and say this was a refracted horizon, they might swallow it. On public TV, when you show them that the horizon that is used to get the correct latitude is not a globe's geometric horizon, they can't swallow that on national TV. They can't hand wave that away.
What?
I don't think.
I don't know why you think that, but refraction cannot apply to any horizon, not just
Yeah,
one specific. No horizon ever. It cannot be refracted.
I know I've been making the
But why are
fucking
you
argument
emphasizing
since
one specific thing that cannot be
2015.
refracted when
You
obviously
think I don't fucking know that? Do you think I don't fucking know that? Honestly, you think I don't know that? And I thought that the horizon was a geometric location back in 2015 all the way through to 2020. That only learned on the 1st of January 2020 that the horizon is not the fucking globe's horizon. I fucking know!
That's not what I'm
fucking idiot.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not an idiot. Why are you raising your voice like this?
Because Arwen, you keep repeating the same thing.
We're not talking. That's the point. We're not talking about the same thing. Arwen is coming in telling me that the horizon's not geometric. Why the fuck would I need to know that, Arwen?
He said always.
I'm not saying the horizon is not geometric. That's not what I've been saying.
It's fucking not geometric. I fucking know. You're doing your best to tell everyone.
Why are you strawmanning me like I'm saying that? That's not what I'm saying.
You're doing your fucking best to tell everyone the horizon can't be refracted. You're doing your best to keep telling me that, and everyone else saying that while I'm trying to tell you something. You're doing your fucking best to stop me from telling you. I wasted my fucking time.
Yeah, why do you think I'm doing that? Instead of just why do you think that I did that?
So far, Arwen, you're not getting it.
Arwen, he's got a point he's trying to make, and you're not really seeing it. You're just repeating all the no.
I was seeing it. Absolutely, I'm seeing it.
What's the point?
I'm reacting. I'm reacting to something very specific that he said.
What's the point? What's the point I was making?
That only one horizon.
What's the point I was making?
Okay, right, stop. Everyone stop. Everyone stop and need to take charge. That was a reasonable point. So what is his point then, Arwen? You say you can paraphrase it back. Go ahead.
His point was very technical.
Everyone else shut up. Everyone else except Arwen.
Okay. Not
everyone
them.
else. Hold on, Arwen. I'm just going to take control. Just everyone else except Arwen, who's now going to paraphrase back Brian's point. Go ahead.
He was getting very technical about the establishment of horizon and elevation angle and all that thing, right? He's very good at that. But then he proceeded to say, oh, look, this one specific horizon cannot be refracted for one of these technical reasons. But that's already then completely overlooking that no horizon. Like, it's really weird to say what this horizon cannot be when obviously refraction cannot displace the horizon in relation to the horizon no matter what.
Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on, everyone else. Hello. Which horizon? He said very technical. Which horizon was he specifically talking about, though? In which circumstance are we? Or just say I don't know, and then that'll justify our.
I don't remember.
Right, so totally justified in getting angry with you then, because he's making a specific point about a specific horizon, and you're saying, well, because it's specific, I'm going to overgeneralize it to all horizons can't be refracted, because then they're not geometric, which is true. But Brian's saying when you've got a horizon in this specific set of circumstances, it can't be refracted.
Exactly, Nathan. In this specific set of circumstances, which is what the whole globe model was built upon, the horizon has to be geometric. They can't say it's refracted.
Yeah, and the reason I'm backing Brian in this hour isn't just to be petty. It's because I've been nagging at Ruhif with this exact point for about, 4 straight months. Every time I see him, I leave the same comment. How's that geometric horizon working out for you, buddy? And this is why. So I do understand Brian's point. However, Brian, sorry to piss all over this bonfire, Arwen's right, and ultimately that is because QE is right. This is just the Black Swan argument. I'm not saying there's anything wrong in repackaging it specifically to this scenario. It's how the failure to recognise why the Black Swan destroys their model comes to a head. So it's critical that they do understand that, no, you need a straight line to a geometric tangent point in this particular set of circumstances, and you haven't got one anymore. So it's come to a head as a result. So Brian's point's also valid, but no matter what you say, Brian, Arwen's still right, and so's QE. It is in essence that you can't refract geometry. It's not geometry anymore.
Oh, no, not geometry. The horizon. The effect of the horizon cannot be displaced in relation to the horizon because of refraction. So it's not even about the geometry or non-geometry.
Okay, but
It's about
Arwen,
the very phenomenon of the horizon itself. That was
okay,
my.
but Arwen, do you think that Brian doesn't know that?
We've got an
This is
audience.
why Brian
You're not
so-
going to nag him.
This is
hold
why
on.
Brian is
You
so
don't get to do
annoyed.
that,
Can I
Chocolate.
reply?
No. We've got an audience.
Okay.
We've got an audience. He's going to make that overriding point every time. Like before John went to go and debate Ruhif, you had QE constantly saying, don't let them get away from the fact they can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. And every time he's saying it, John has to say, yeah, I know the argument, but it doesn't make any difference. John's still going to say to him 16 more times between, it ended up being probably 30 because it dragged out for about 4 weeks, probably longer. Anyway, he's still going to make that point, and so he should. So you're not going to get away with having a go at him for that, Chocolate, because I want Arwen to make that point over and over again. I've just reiterated the point and told Brian he's wrong in spite of the fact he's furious. I hope it doesn't come on to me. I've already fucked him over yesterday.
And that's cool in the gang. But I want, before Arwen makes that point, I want Brian to get his point out. Because obviously we know Brian knows, but he's got a particular point that he's trying to get out, right? So it doesn't help when he's trying to get his point out, like a sniper just trying to snipe one particular thing, and then you got Arwen just coming in, well, no horizon is refracted.
Fine.
Like, duh.
Well,
Fine.
sorry.
Okay.
Look, when Sleeping Warrior does that, we interrupt him too.
Okay, don't make it worse, Arwen.
When you spaz out
Chocolate,
just as
and
much
Chocolate,
as,
and
you
Chocolate.
know...
Hello. I just want to reintroduce Brian. Hopefully now he's cooled off a little bit. But if I summarise his point slightly and then he can expand upon it to make that point, which is valid, regardless of whether or not it's a spin-off the Black Swan in its essence or not, it's still critical because at the moment it's hyper-specific. It's nuanced from our opponents, in this case Ruhif. What do you need if you're making a dip angle correction and taking an elevation angle measurement as you claim you do from a globe? Well, you need a geometric horizon. And you haven't got one. Brian, go ahead.
Okay, the first thing I'll say is this. When do I ever get that angry unless there's a very good reason? When do I get that angry unless there's a very good reason?
Well, last time it happened, it was me that was at the tail end of it because I was like, the dip correction doesn't matter. You don't even need to do it. It just puts you off by a little bit. Who cares? And you were fuming because you're like, no, it's now been summarised over the time period from then till now to John yesterday giving such a beautifully sweet and succinct summary of the differential between two parallel planes. I could kiss you when you said that yesterday. It was epic. You're like, yeah, I've never been able to summarise what we're doing with dip correction in a way that I can't spend 3 minutes talking about it to describe it in the way I understand it, which I do, but I've never had a concise way of saying, well, it's just the differential between the two flat planes. That's what you're actually correcting for. Both of the planes need to be in existence. They have to be parallel, and it's the differential between the two. If you draw out your line of sight without having a correction to make, i.e. use a bubble sextant, there's no correction to make.
Yeah, that's just your kitchen table and your kitchen floor. There's an elevation.
Back to your point, because that was just you furious last time. You had a good point to make.
No,
this
but
is
I know
the same.
that point. I've been making that point myself. We all make the same point at the same time. No, the reason I got so angry wasn't, it was Arwen was, for number one, arguing with me. That's what spazzed it out so fast. When he should have been listening, he wouldn't shut up. And I'm going to make sure that he learns that he did wrong there.
Okay, let's move on.
But not,
I knew you were going to spark him. Right, Arwen, just let him have it. Just let it slide, please, God, please, just let it slide, Arwen. We'll get back to it.
I won't be letting that slide.
No.
But anyway.
Can I add something?
The reason, just one moment. I'm not going to take up any more of the show. The reason I'm so angry about this, and I got angry so fast, wasn't just because of Arwen. It was because there's a specific point here that's not being seen. Chocolate knows there's a point there. There's a specific point here that's not being seen. You can't, this is all I'll say, this is the last thing I'll say about it. You can't get your latitude using a globe Earth's geometric horizon. What does that mean?
What it always meant. Black Swan. They can't do anything. They all built their entire architecture of their globe maps on a flat plane. So can I respond, or are you immediately talking over me? No.
Fucking thinking about it instead of shooting your mouth off all the fucking time. Maybe
You
stop
asked a
shooting your
question,
mouth off.
I replied
As if you're some
after
kind
half
of
a second.
Okay, both of you stop.
fucking
Okay, Owen and Brian. Owen, Brian.
How did I
I'm
get
asking for a fucking conversation.
Hello, Brian and Owen. Right. He interrupted you
Sorry,
because he's
Nathan.
saying no, that's not the point I'm making. That's not the overriding point. That's why he's interrupting, but you want to carry on, even though he's trying to shut you down to say no. But then he obviously wants to correct you on what the point is being made, but you won't let him. And it's disseminating into chaos quickly. Hopefully, you'll just let Brian go, okay, correct me then. Just have a bit of humility. Just let him correct you.
Apparently it was rhetorical. He didn't actually ask a question. He just seemed to ask a question and then wanted to continue.
Not exactly.
Because when I replied to that
Owen,
question,
just calm down. Just calm down. Let me respond to you. Owen.
I'm done here.
Just Owen. He just wants you to be able to paraphrase back what he's trying to put down. He's not saying that it's rhetorical and doesn't require an answer. He just wants you to be able to paraphrase it back how he's laying it down. Now, when it's not, he's going to shut you down because he's just trying to make a point. But in this regard, when he's saying, no, that isn't the point I'm making, it's not because he's asked a rhetorical question. I just want him to actually get you to the point. If it takes the next hour, I'm going to, through a hedge backwards, I want you to be able to paraphrase his point back to him because of this chaos. So, you can just bugger off.
I'm done here. I'm not going to interact with somebody that talks to me like that continually.
I'm calming you both down. You're both as bad as each other. Don't play the martyr.
Guys,
Owen, don't do that. You're not the martyr.
Do I need to drop?
Don't be a martyr.
I think they both deserve a timeout.
I'm not a martyr. I'm just not going to be treated like this.
This is really corny, Arwen, because when somebody disturbs you in your shit...
I'm not going to be treated like this.
Okay, well, can you tolerate him just making his point again?
Sometimes, bro.
Okay, fine.
What the hell?
Fine, Arwen. Can you tolerate him without interruption or answering rhetorical or non-rhetorical questions, just letting him make his point again, and hopefully someone else will respond to him? Thanks.
The globe's radius is based off of the flatter elevation angles to Polaris. That's where they back engineer that calculation from. So that means that when they show their latitudes and why Polaris, the angle to Polaris, changes from the North Pole down to the equator, is because the geometric horizon of the globe is getting in the way. They can't hand wave this away with refraction. It's impossible. They can't say, refraction, like they can with a photograph, and then try and tell everyone it's just refraction, and they all go in unison and say refraction. They can't do that in this instance. In this instance, that part of the argument can't be made. It has to be geometric, or it's not a globe.
I see what Brian's saying. Correct.
Perfect. Shout out to Mitchell from Australia, who says my most recent video shows a Foucault pendulum I observed for 4 hours not deviate at all. Video is in Skype if you want to play it, Nathan. Do I want to play a 4-hour video, Mitchell from Australia? If I can wrap my tongue around your name. It's been a long day. Yeah, we'll check it out, but I don't think I'll be playing a 4-hour video of something not happening. That doesn't sound riveting, but I will check it out, and thank you for letting me know. More important was the super chat saying it and stating it and having the video exist at all. So thank you very much for the super chat, Mitchell. Obviously, I didn't get to try it out on the live show.
Nathan.
Yes.
At least let us listen to it not deviating for 4 hours.
Listen to it not deviating? Yeah, I want to know how it smells too.
No, listen. My friend, I said that for a reason. The reason why I said that is because that's a category error, which, by the way, is what the refraction of the horizon is as well. Because it's not an optical effect in their view. It's a geometric change to the radius.
Yeah, 7/6R isn't an optical anything. It's a geometric change to the radius, correct? It's a derivation of an R value. It's a geometric value in its principle because it's based on R. So is that optical? That's why I sneered when 10th was like, no, in the almanac it's like based on weather and heat and whatever he said. I was like, yeah, so not a derivation of R at 7/6 in standard form then.
Hold on. You just hold on there. Was I referencing the horizon or was I referencing a luminary?
Stars. I realise that. You're talking about celestial refraction, which I also
That
sneered
is
at
so
because I
touchy.
don't believe that the phenomena of the stars slowing down towards the horizon is in any way ascribable to a perspective-based effect, because I don't believe they've got a physicality to them that you can ascribe an effect of perspective or refraction to. But they do. They call it refraction. Well, why is it refraction?
May I try to explain from my understanding what's going on here?
You can, if just one person would just nod to Brian at least once.
I agree with Brian.
Okay.
Thank you.
When I called the professional navigator and I said, what happens when it's foggy and you can't see as far and you need to bring the sun or star down to horizon that's limited because of the fog or weather? What do?
Use whatever horizon you've got.
Yes, you use the horizon you got. This has nothing to, refraction is not even, refraction and horizon should just be put in a timeout for a second. What is the purpose of an elevation angle? Is it to figure out the horizon that's already a given? Or is it to get the vertical?
It's to measure something in the vertical, but you're using the horizon to establish the given, the required, the prerequisite of a horizontal to do so. So if you're measuring in the vertical, which is what an elevation angle is, then you need to have the horizontal in the first instance.
So whether if it's refracted or not refracted, it's still horizontal.
Yeah, it's the purpose that we're missing the point on. And, you know, John over the last couple of days has really drugged this home, and I'm glad he has. What are you doing when you measure an elevation angle, as you put it? Well, okay, you're measuring in the vertical with respect to the horizontal. Okay, so you must have the horizontal. Okay. So all that matters from that point forward is, well, what are you going to use to get it? Okay, you use the horizon to get the horizontal, to establish the horizontal. Yeah, okay. Well, bubble. Okay, to get the horizontal, to establish the horizontal, which you must have. So it doesn't matter what the horizon's doing. You say it's refracted. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because if it's refracted according to you, all you're doing with it is establishing the horizontal with it. That's what you're doing with it. So it doesn't matter what you say the horizon is or how we say we see it. It's being used to establish the horizontal. End of story.
Yes, but let's not miss the key which was brought out initially. To dip or not to dip. That is the correction. When the navigator says you use whatever you see, so I see it, I bring the luminary there. In order for it to be true altitude, which means to match what you get from the equatorial plane, which is called the rational horizon and the presupposed center of the Earth plane, for it to match a bubble sextant with a spirit level, and for it to match an artificial horizon in the form of a pan of Mercury, you need to have that 90. So when you take your eye, height of eye, and put it to the sea surface, when the horizon is right in front of you due to fog, or where it's out there when it's clear weather, you're getting the 90 to the given horizontal so that you can establish your vertical angle. The ball game is over. They're basically telling you, in order to do it using the sea horizon and for it to work like the equatorial plane, rational horizon, the bubble sextant, spirit level, or the pan of Mercury, you've got to match the 90. You've got to have a right angle. They're telling you from your eyeball on the ocean surface to whatever distance that horizon is, the given horizontal, flat baseline. Can we get that finally?
Yeah, I think we're getting there.
Yeah, it's over. I mean, if they say refraction, I say of what? The horizon? The horizontal? Or are you talking about the luminary above it? Nowhere is the horizon refracted.
False.
That was my point.
Yeah, but the problem
that's
is
a false
this.
statement.
It's not a. Sorry, you go ahead.
Let the guy who's challenging it go first. Go ahead. Whoever said that it's a false statement, you've got the floor. Go ahead.
It's only false if you don't understand that they're intentionally committing a category error, using the word horizon not in the same manner in which they are.
Go on then. How are we using it in a different way that they're using it?
Well, the geometric horizon exists on paper, and if it doesn't match observations, you break it. Refraction means broken. And when they apply refraction to it, they change the geometry. They don't actually apply light effects like we already just discussed. It's a category error.
So what you're saying is if the geometric horizon only exists in the maths, then it's not the observation of the horizon you're utilising, regardless of whether or not they say it's refracted.
And let's not forget that terrestrial refraction is not actually real.
Hold on, Arwin.
It's not based on light mechanics.
Well, I'll tell you, it's in the word terrestrial, the Earth, refraction, broken. It's a self-evident concession that the Earth model that they have is broken. So they just alter it. The geometry, right? The geometry, which exists in an ideal form in the mind and is expressed on paper and graphics. Okay, that geometry can be refracted. It can be broken. The world can't. They're two different things.
Right, you mean fraction, right? You mean like fraction, like to refract as in fraction, like taking it apart, put into pieces. The semantic root of that? It's a good find.
Well,
it is broken
that's what
Earth.
They do. I mean, go listen, friends. Go to Walter Business Calculator, put in an observation, and then see what you have to do to it to make it fit reality. And you'll notice that they must alter the Sagata. Now let that sink in. They must alter it, period.
Math is not reality.
Summarize.
It's a good observation. Sorry.
Summarize in the context that I'm speaking, not the deeper level that you just brought it to, which I don't have a problem with, where I was wrong. Explaining it the way they teach it in the books, because it's celestial refraction, not terrestrial, that you're correcting for.
Right, but celestial refraction doesn't claim.
I'm talking to him. I'm talking to AI, Arwin.
Tell Arwin not to butt in, and then when Arwin's got his chance, Neil butts in. It's like, bloody hell, guys.
I wasn't aware it was a specific conversation.
He was asking the guy who came up with it, abstruse, I think.
If you're limiting the term, to a particular context.
Hold on, Neil and Arwin have decided to ruin the beginning of your statement now. Bloody hellfire.
No, because I'm getting blamed for
Just
something.
stop
I'm not
talking.
I'm not mute.
Just stop talking now. Try again, abstruse.
Yeah, so you have to limit your conversation to the context in which the use of that token or word applies. Right? So if you parse it out and limit it, then you can make correct conclusions. But if you allow the wiggle room of the alternate definitions for that same token, being the word horizon, from a different category, right? You're borrowing the definition from a completely different category, which is what they do. I'm not saying we do it, although many flat earthers do it on occasion. When they say horizon, and then the next paragraph they say horizon, they're often referring to two different things.
Beautiful, beautiful. Exactly, but I'm not. I'm using their books, which refers to one thing.
Yeah, the horizon we see is not the geometric begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve that we see in their maths. They're not the same thing. The horizon we see is just the horizon. The horizon they see is an Earth curve laid down in their paper and maths. And when they refract their paper and maths comparison to what they say is mathematically derived from what we see and then bend it into something we don't see, it isn't the geometric Earth curve horizon anymore. We've been saying it for years, which is why QE originally piped up when Brian was making a point off this tangent, the same exact tangent. You've got to have a geometric horizon if you're going to claim it's Earth curve. The moment you refract it, it's no longer bloody Earth curve, as I get somebody off mute in G+. Very frustrating.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to comment. I'm sorry.
I guess you should just not join no more. Nobody could freaking talk.
All right, let me just respond to this. In the height of eye correction tables, the newer ones, not the 1800, there were two separate tables. But in the height of eye correction tables, in the new ones, guess what's included to height of eye to get to the surface of the water?
Refraction.
Yes, refraction. What kind? Not the kind they're talking about, but it doesn't matter. Yes, celestial. Good one, Brian. Right. So once you bring that 10, 15 foot observation to the surface, you go from an obtuse angle to a right angle, and now you've got your elevation angle to minus from 90, which is an acute angle. That is a killer for them, because if you just get your eyeball to the surface, you've taken care of refraction and height of eye at the same time. And guess what? You're shooting what you see, the only horizon you see, whether it's way out there because it's really clear and crisp and there's a contrast between the blue sky and the dark ocean waters that give you that beautiful horizon line, a given, or it's a foggy day and it's only out maybe 10, 15 miles. It don't matter. You gotta get your eyeball on that water. You gotta have a true altitude, which is matching the center of the earth where all the tables are from. Is there refraction at the center of a presupposed globe on a disk? No, you got to match that 90 there. There's no way around this.
My point to do with Polaris is this. It's not that one of them can't claim it's a refracted horizon. It's that they can't claim that it's not geometric. And that is where they get stuck. They have to differentiate between a geometric and a refracted one in their own minds to try and get around the claim, which they tried. But they can't, because they can't claim that it's not geometric. It has to be. In this instance, there is no way around it not being geometric. So if the horizon that we are seeing and using to get our latitude is not geometric, and it's not, then that is the end of the globe. Because the origins of the globe started with flat Earth elevation angles to Polaris being back engineered into latitudes along a globe. Although the latitudes were already there in flat, they had to back engineer it into latitudes on a globe. And longitudes on the globe. And that means they can't ever say that they can't deny that they need the geometric horizon to get the latitude. But you can't get your latitude with a geometric horizon. You can only get it with the real sea horizon that we see. They can't claim the refracted position then.
What I hear you saying, Brian, and I agree with it, is that when they want to prove R, we need to see geometric horizon. They can't prove R, so they say you can never see it. It's this refracted horizon. And what you're saying is, well, then how'd you ever get your elevation angles to match from a refracted horizon when you need it to be a geometric one? So the quandary they're in is that if they're going to claim that there's an R value, we have to see Earth curve. No one sees Earth curve, so now they got to say, this is the reason we don't see Earth curve. And you're saying, well, then if you don't see it and you're going to claim you're using it, you're in trouble because you can't get the latitudes right.
Right.
Yeah, it means that the globe.
That's where Abstruse came in and said, well, yeah, that's because they're in a category error. They're doing a bait and switch in the same way they bait and switch terrestrial refraction with the effects of light bending as it traverses a medium, aka Snell's law. Well, the bait and switch in this instance is the use of a geometric horizon when they haven't got one. If they're saying it's refracted, how are you going to get one when your maths uses one? Again, it's back to me poking at Rufy going, how's that geometric horizon working out for you? You haven't got one.
Yeah, it means, ultimately, just leave me to say this and you can go ahead then. Ultimately, it means that their model cannot match the observations of Polaris or anything else in the sky, because it starts with Polaris. That means all the observations of the sky, all their astronomical observations, none of them can match their model if the horizon we get our latitude from is not geometric. It means all of their cosmology and astronomy is all out the window, because it can't match it. Sorry.
Yes. No, you're right. And that's why, Nathan, you always have to have, and Rumpus even admitted, you got to have a tangent plane. You got to have a flat to get it. That's why they put the tangent plane there.
Yes, but when it comes to Polaris, they can't do that.
No.
It's the one specific instance they can't.
No, I know. What you're saying, I agree with the way you're saying in that context. What I'm saying is, when we see the dingleberry under all the tangent planes, the reason the tangent plane is there is because they're trying to make it match the equatorial plane, where it's straight, flat, horizontal. Well, you can't get that if the Earth is a ball. So they say, well, we can't give you the measurements from a curved baseline because it doesn't work. So we have to assume a tangent plane that matches the one at the center where all the measurements of the tables are derived from. So you never derive measurements from a curved baseline. You're admitting to that. Yes. Where'd you get it from? Center of the Earth. Is it curved there? No, it's flat. Okay, bye. Goodbye. Then you can just draw as many tangent lines you want over pyramids, circles, don't matter.
Yep. They could have never constructed the globe model if the Earth wasn't flat.
Exactly.
Yeah, but McToon proved you could get an angle between two curved lines.
No, he didn't.
I saw it live.
No,
I saw it live, though.
No, he didn't.
You sure about that? Because I saw it live, and he said he did.
So he breaches the definition of an angle, so no.
Buzz
Yeah,
Lightyear.
so he accused our friend John of being a liar by saying it's not as simple as just a yes or no question. And he parsed it out and said, well, how you would do it is you would make a point along the curved line at any point you choose, and then you would get an angle between that point and another point on the other curved line by constructing a vertex with two straight lines and then getting the angle between the two straight lines. Now, Mr. McToon said you're a liar and you're not an engineer and you're a fraud, even though McToon later in the same debate demonstrated exactly what Mr. John said by drawing exactly what I just described live for the audience, like a stone cold retard.
It was hilarious. That whole debate. I don't know if you call it the debate. It was hilarious. The mental gymnastics that he went through in that short period of time were hilarious.
The question is, when someone...
John, I got a question for you.
It's not the abstruse. It's not the first time that's been pointed out. So the day after, John came on the show and highlighted that very detail to us. I tried to, but was ultimately shut down and called a liar. And then it went on to him using the exact verbalized example that I gave in his demonstration. Now, that being pointed out on the show, I do question when people who have watched it and cheered, do they suddenly feel a bit stupid as we point that out to them? Because they haven't picked up on it. They've presumably gone, yay, isn't McToon great? As opposed to, hang on, you've shut him down, called him a fraud for doing what you're now doing.
Yep.
Nah, for them is the win. The win is McToon and company calling John a loser or, whatever. That's the win.
Well,
not actually trying to
but it is directly the equivalent of what Virus did yesterday. You're a liar. He's calling John a liar.
You're a liar.
For then doing something that the Globe claim does when John claims that's how it would be done. So, therefore, John's a liar. Now I'm going to do exactly that. Like, what? What an outrage.
Yeah, and to be fair, let's be fair to the audience, okay? I haven't seen anybody else among his audience comment to that effect. So are you guys oblivious, retarded, ignorant?
That's what I'm asking. That's exactly what I'm asking. That's what I'm saying. But that's what I phrased it as though we're pointing it out to you. If you're that guy listening that cheered when McToon did that, And we're saying, no. John detailed what McToon then did, but when John detailed it, he was called a fraud and a liar for it. Now, if you haven't picked up on that, and we're pointing it out to you, I'm asking you how that makes you feel. Does it make you feel stupid?
No, because they have no idea.
Dunning-Kruger.
John was trying
Correct.
to tell. John also was telling them, or trying to tell them, you have to be specific from or to a curved line, and they just overtalked them.
Cog this, and Chocolate said it a while ago. They're not fighting for the globe anymore. They're just fighting against us.
And the angle between the two curved lines, that's a vertex. They're trying to equivocate between a vertex and an actual angle.
Yeah, we've seen it all before. It's all come
Am
out.
I out of line?
Go ahead.
Am I out of line if I said, is any of those dudes willing to put their money where their mouth is on the claim that they all seem to be making that John is a demonstrable liar and a fraud?
Why?
Because we have all these challenges out, $10,000.
I don't care. Doesn't matter. He could be a murderer. Does it make any difference to his argument? No.
His argument, well, from McToon's argument, is that you're a liar, therefore you're wrong.
Yeah, that's all they've got. That's what I'm saying.
John's argument
And we're
is all
saying, when we
murderers.
point out that he's calling a man a liar for something he did 10 minutes later, does that make you feel stupid if you agree with him? Not prove whether or not he's a liar. John isn't a liar. Demonstrated by McToon 10 minutes later. Because he did what John said when he was claimed to be a liar for it. So that much should be self-evident. And if it's not, you're stupid.
Well, to be fair to the audience that he did clip out the first part that doesn't show McToon demonstrating that. So most of them just go to that part where it says, proven a flat earth is a liar.
Yeah, and I'm saying if you buy that, that shows a lack of research. If you haven't even watched the video all the way through, you've watched the trimmed out clip and just cheered. Again, a complete lack of ability to do research. Again, does that not make you feel stupid? Headline reader.
Well, they should have been more correct to call John a murderer, because he is. He's murdered the globe.
Maybe that's where I should round out this show. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, hitting the PayPal link, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!